English writer and social critic, he created some of the world's best known fictional characters and is regarded by many as the greatest novelist of the Victorian era. His works enjoyed unprecedented popularity during his lifetime, and by the 20th century critics and scholars had recognised him as a literary genius. We now look at the extraordinary Charles Dickens and his Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol is a short story by Charles Dickens, first published in London by Chapman and Hall in 1843 and illustrated by John Leech. It recounts the story of Ebenezer Scrooge, an elderly miser who is visited by the ghost of his former business partner, Jacob Marley, and the spirits of Christmas past, present and yet to come. The book is divided into 5 chapters, in which Dickens titled them all as Staves. Our story begins on a bleak, cold Christmas Eve in London, 7 years after the death of Ebenezer Scrooge's business partner, Jacob Marley. Scrooge is an ageing miser and hates the thought of Christmas. I mean, he's really that unhappy he refuses dinner invitations from close family and even turns away a couple of guys who are just looking for a donation to help provide food and heating for the poor. And to top it off, his very own employee Bob Cratchit gets the thumbs down for just thinking about having Christmas Day off. With pay. So that night when Scrooge has gone home, mumbling all the time to himself, as he always did, he gets a visit from an old friend. But this old friend died 7 years ago. Jacob Marley had returned. Marley comes to warn Scrooge that he really needs to have a complete rethink about his life, as it's about to go very quickly downhill. Scrooge is told that unless he changes his ways, he will meet the same fate as good old Jacob, but probably a lot worse. Scrooge is terrified and he freaks out even more when he's told he's going to be visited by 3 spirits. I'm not talking whiskey, brandy kind of spirits. Oh no. Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol during a period when the British were exploring and re-evaluating past Christmas traditions, including Christmas carols and newer customs such as Christmas trees. He was influenced by the experiences of his own youth and by the Christmas stories of other authors, including Washington Irving and Douglas Jerrold. The treatment of the poor and the ability of a selfish man to redeem himself by transforming into a more sympathetic character are the key themes to the story. And so the first spirit arrives. It's the ghost of Christmas past. Scrooge is obviously a bit nervous, as you would be, but the spirit takes him and begins a journey through his childhood. We see him as a young boy, and even back then he was pretty much a loner. Next, he's taken to his sister Fran, and then a Christmas party hosted by his first employer, Mr. Fezziwig, who treated him like a son. But Scrooge's neglected fiancée, Belle, is shown ending their relationship. She realises he will never love her as much as he loves money. Finally, they visit a now married Belle with her large happy family on the Christmas Eve that Marley died. Upset by hearing Belle's description of the man that he has become, Scrooge demands that the ghost remove him from the house. Published on the 19th of December, the first edition sold out by Christmas Eve, and by the end of 1844, 13 editions had been released. Most critics reviewed the novella favourably. The story was illicitly copied though in January 1844, and Dickens took legal action against the publishers, who went bankrupt, further reducing Dickens' small profits from the publication. Next to visit Scrooge is the ghost of Christmas present. Now I know what you're thinking, but just stay with me as I see a possible change in the air. Firstly, he's taken to a local market. People are happy and full of Christmas cheer as they go about buying their groceries for that all-important Christmas dinner. Next on this whistle-stop tour is to Fred's to check out all the fun they're having. Finally though, he goes to Bob Cratchit's home, where he finds out that Tiny Tim, Bob's son, is seriously ill. The ghost of Christmas present informs Scrooge that Tiny Tim will die unless the course of events change. But before disappearing, the ghost shows Scrooge 2 hideous, emaciated children named Ignorance and Want. He tells Scrooge to be very wary, for they will doom anyone who attempts to ignore them. But Scrooge just mocks the ghost and says as usual, "Bah humbug." He went on to write 4 other Christmas stories in subsequent years. In 1849 he began public readings of the story, which proved so successful he undertook 127 further performances until 1870, the year of his death. A Christmas Carol has never been out of print and has been translated into several languages. The story has been adapted many times for film, stage opera and other media. A bit of time travel into the future with our next apparition. This is the ghost of Christmas Future. Now this ghost is a lot less chatty than the other two. In fact, he says nothing, he just points. We're taken to a scene of a funeral. It's the death of a man who was so disliked by the community, it was only attended by others on condition lunch was provided. Scrooge is shocked, and even more so when he sees his house ransacked and people stealing his possessions to sell to a chap called Old Joe. He was a kind of Derek Trotter of the 19th century. Scrooge asked the spirit to show him someone. In fact, anyone who has a spark of emotion over his death. I personally don't see this happening, but anyhow. We do see an elderly couple happy and smiling, knowing that his death has now given them time to get their finances in order. I mean, it could even be wrote off, and I don't see why not. But from there we are taken to Bob Cratchit's. Now this bit is sad, you may need a tissue. Bob and his family are mourning the death of Tiny Tim, and for the first time this puts a lump in Scrooge's throat. And not before time, I hear you say. But then Scrooge is shown a neglected grave with a coffin bearing his name. This was the moment Scrooge knew he had to change. There was now simply no going back. A Christmas Carol captured the mid-Victorian revival of the Christmas holiday. Dickens had acknowledged the influence of the modern Western observance of Christmas and later inspired several aspects of Christmas, including family gatherings, seasonal food and drink, dancing, games and a festive generosity of spirit. Well, what a difference a day makes. Scrooge wakes up Christmas morning a changed man. He makes a large donation to the charity he rejected the previous day. He sends a large turkey to the Cratchit home for Christmas dinner. Anonymously, but you know, give him chance, it's only been 24 hours since he saw the light. In the afternoon he visits Fred and his family, and the following day he gives Cratchit an increase in pay and becomes a father figure to Tiny Tim. From then on, Scrooge treats everyone with kindness, generosity and compassion. I mean, come on, this man has changed big time, and who'd have thought it? The spirit of Christmas is alive and well, and a new life for Scrooge is just beginning. Without doubt, A Christmas Carol is quite possibly what Charles Dickens is remembered for. Out of the many great books he wrote, Dickens was the most popular novelist of his time and remains one of the best known and most read of English authors. He actually recreated Christmas as a family-centred festival of generosity, in contrast to the dwindling old traditions of it being purely based around the church community. It gives people a release to go and enjoy themselves without neglecting what the true meaning of Christmas is all about. There were so many phrases that were conjured up by Dickens, and they still have a meaning today. The term Scrooge became a synonym for miser, and his dismissive exclamation, "Bah humbug," likewise gained popularity as an idiom. It's time now to go and get those mince pies, have a drop of sherry, deck the halls and have yourself a wonderful Christmas read, courtesy of Charles Dickens.
We're gonna dance.
We're gonna dance, 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 come on, dance. We're gonna dance, dance, have a good time, dance, dance, all night long. We're gonna dance, dance, and have a good time. I think Santa's gonna come and join us in this song. Doesn't matter if the snow is.
Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. For more history videos, why not check out this video up here and then this one up here, and benefit today by subscribing. Have yourself a wonderful, peaceful Christmas, and I'll see you again here soon on the History Roadshow.
Doesn't matter if it's Christmas in